Welcome back, dear students. In previous video we discussed about incentives for export trade. Today we'll discuss about the import procedure. So let's start the topic. Dear students, import trade refers to the purchase of goods from a foreign country. The procedure for import trade differs from country to country depending upon the import policy, statutory requirements and custom policies of different countries. In almost all countries of the world, import trade is controlled by the government. The objectives of these controls are proper use of foreign exchange, restrictions, protection of indigenous industries, etc. The following are the procedures regarding the import. In that, first step starts with the trade inquiry. The first stage in an import transaction, like any other transaction of purchase and sale, relates to making trade inquiries. After trade inquiry, there is a step of obtaining import license. The import trade in India is controlled under the Imports and Exports Control Act 1947. A person or a firm cannot import goods into India without a valid import license. An import license may be either general license or specific license. Under general license, goods can be imported from any country, whereas a specific or individual license authorizes to import only from specific countries. The Government of India declares its import policy in the Import Trade Control Policy book called the Red Book. Every importer must find first out whether he can import the goods he wants or not, and how much of a certain class of goods he can import during the period covered by the relevant Red Book. In next step, there is obtaining foreign exchange. After obtaining the license or quota, in case of an established importer has to make arrangement for obtaining necessary foreign exchange, since the importer has to make payment for the imports in the currency of the exporting country. Next step of the import procedure is placing an order. After the initial formalities are over and the importer has to obtain the license, quota and the necessary amount of foreign exchange, the next step in the import of goods is that of placing the order. This order is known as indent. An indent is an order placed by an importer with an exporter for the supply of certain goods. Next step is dispatching letter of credit. Generally, foreign traders are not acquainted to each other, and so the exporters, before shipping the goods, want to be sure about the creditworthiness of the importer. The exporter wants to be sure that there is no risk of non-payment. Usually, for this purpose, he asks the importer to send a letter of credit to him. A letter of credit, popularly known as LC or LC, is an undertaking by its issuer, usually importer's bank, that the bills of exchange drawn by the foreign dealer on the importer will be honored on presentation up to a specific amount. Next step in import procedure is receipts of documents. After dispatching a letter of credit, the importer has not to do much. On receipt of the letter of credit, the exporter arranges for the shipment of goods and sends advice note to the importer immediately after the shipment of goods. An advice note is a document sent to a purchaser of goods to inform him that goods have been dispatched. It may also indicate the probable date on which the ship is expected to reach the port of destination. In the import procedure, After this point, there are steps like to obtain the order of receiving goods and paying the import duty excise. After receiving the documents of title of goods, the importer's only concern is to take delivery of the goods. When the ship arrives at the port and to bring them to his own place of business, the importer has to comply with many formalities for taking delivery of goods, unless the following mentioned formalities are completed with the goods lie in the custody of the custom house. To obtain endorsement for delivery or delivery order, to pay dock dues and obtain port trust dues receipt. The importer has to submit 2 copies of a form known as application to import duly filled in the lading and shipping dues office. This office levies a charge on all imported goods for services rendered by the dock authorities in connection with the lading of goods. After paying the necessary charges, the importer receives back 1 copy of the application to import as a receipt, port trust dues receipt. In the last stage of import procedure, there is getting possession of the goods. After completing all the formalities on the part of the importer gets the possession of the goods. The possession of the goods has to be moved out from the bonded warehouse within a certain time limit. If the goods are not moved but from the bonded warehouse within the certain time limit, then the rent and the demurrage have to be paid for using bonded warehouse for excess time. Dear students, here we have completed this topic. Just go through the video and revise the topic. In next video, we'll discuss about export procedure. Thank you.